Today on the QT50, I need to replace the instrument cluster bulbs. My high beam and my speedo cable bulb are blown. I'm going to be taking off the horn cover because it opens it up a little bit more for me and I can see what I'm doing. By no means is this a necessary step. You can bypass this and get right into taking off the appropriate hardware to get the instrument cluster off the handlebars. But if you're interested in how to access the horn and all the wiring behind this cover, it's a pretty good quick how-to. Not enough for a whole video all by itself. At the top, this is attached right to that metal chrome frame, and it just pops off. And the other tabs at the bottom, I just use a screwdriver for leverage to get those out of the slots. But it's pretty straightforward. All the wiring that comes from the handlebars goes through this area and feeds down through the frame and or front end depending on what it's needed. You've got two bolts. They are 8mm, and I'm taking out the speedo cable as well so that I have more flexibility on maneuvering and manipulating the instrument cluster, so it's much easier to get at the bulbs. As I'm doing this, because gravity is not my friend when it comes to taking off these little microscopic nuts, I do use a magnet. And the reason for that is I won't have to worry about dropping it and spending half an hour to an hour finding where it might have rolled off to in my shop. It's handy for this part. When I went to put them back on, it was an unnecessary thing to utilize. I take off the one nut, and then I go to the speedo cable. It's much easier to take off while one of the nuts is still holding the instrument cluster on. It's very simple. There's nothing really you need to know about the speedometer cable. It goes in and out. There's no specifications on how to do that. I think the only real issue I had is just having very little room to work in this area. And as you can see, now you know why I took off the horn cover. It gave me a little more space in front here to get my hands in there and manipulate things around. So it's pretty straightforward. Two nuts, speedometer cable, and this is ready to come off. You can get at those bulbs. Got 4 bulbs in this particular setup. Let's see, high beam, directional, an oil lamp, and the speedo. So these are pretty easy. They're push in. And when I go to take these out, I'm going to use a flathead screwdriver. And the only purpose of me using that screwdriver is to offer the same amount of leverage that my finger is using on the opposite side of each plug, so that it comes out straight out. You don't want to beef on it. You don't want to compromise the rubber and tear it up, because that's your waterproofing. And as you can see, that bulb is pretty well fried. Yay. Not bad for 44 years? Lasted quite a long time, don't you think? Even though I only had 2 bulbs burned out, I did replace all 4. Again, these bulbs are 44 years old or 45 years old, and there's no point in me having to do this again when the other 2 that I did not replace burn out. So while I'm in here, I'm putting all brand new in. Again, there's not a lot of room here to work with all the wiring that's still going down through the handlebars and through the horn area is restricting this instrument cluster from being a little more easily accessible, but it can be done. It's just I got big hands, so it's difficult for me sometimes to manipulate this stuff, but hey, you do what you gotta do and get her done. Now, when you do pop these bulbs back in, there's a little plastic pin next to each one of these grommets that are holding them in. You gotta make sure that the rubber where the wire's coming out is to the left of that. Otherwise, you won't have a good seat, and you may have compromised and get moisture in there or whatever have you. So it's real important to make sure you get these flat and flush when you pop them back in. Putting the instrument cluster back on, it's do everything in reverse. In this case, I put both nuts on first and then the speedometer cable last. And at the end, I'll show you that I tested everything. The only light I cannot test is the oil light. It has to have no oil in the chamber or very low oil for that to activate. And when I first got this up and running again, it had no oil and it worked just fine. So I have no reason to believe that that oil sensor or that oil light's not going to work. And there you go. I have light with my speedometer cable, which is really nice because I didn't have that prior. And the high beam light does work. There you go. And when I did the directionals, I did both left and right to make sure that both sides are working properly. And that's it. This is approximately a 10-minute job. It was nothing to do. Very low on the difficulty scale. Have fun. Happy travels.